Hello, everyone. This is Florence Akindele of Florence Women's Health Services, and I am so glad to be here with my teammates. You know them, they've introduced themselves before, and what we want to briefly talk about today is what is natural birth. We are trying to create a safe haven, I will call it, somewhere for mothers where they will feel safe and at the same time have the comfort and the pampering that I think women deserve when they are performing their what I call physiological function. And so I'm going to start with Crystal. Crystal is going to tell us, from her perspective, she's a lactation consultant. What does natural birth mean to you, Crystal?
So I think it's complex in the sense that it's not just one person's view. So I feel like each mom would have a different idea of what natural birth would actually be. Because when conventionally we might think of natural birth being like natural, pain-free, intervention-free, vaginally. And then we'd have the other side of like interventions and C-sections. But when I think of natural delivery, I think of moms being able to move and voice their truth and, their experience and have the knowledge going into that experience so that they can embrace what they're going through. And then being able to vocalize that if something is not working, and as well as the health professional, being able to collaborate with the mom. I see something's not working, we might want to try this. It's kind of like this two-way street of like collaboration, communication, and like teamwork, because a mom shouldn't feel isolated and a health professional shouldn't feel like they're making the decisions for a mother. So when I think of natural, I think of like it's this collaborative approach, for the safety of mom and baby in order to bring baby earthside.
Great. One question for you, being the lactation consultant in this team, from your experience, have you seen that maybe women who have had cesarean section, they are worse off in terms of lactation, or what's your experience with that?
It is a huge factor, and it's a systems factor. I don't think that the C-section mom is actually at any disadvantage. I feel like the things that are in place to protect mom and like the mentality of like this is how it's always been done affects things, because I do believe that babies should be skin to skin, and for emotional regulation and all sorts of things, this is really important. And that piece is missing in a C-section. Not that moms who have had a C-section aren't going to be able to breastfeed at all, and just because you miss skin to skin, that's not going to happen. But I do see and hear a lot of moms telling me that was a huge piece that they felt like they missed, that could be easily changed in our health system, keeping mom and baby together as a unit. They are not separate. They are together. They are one being. They've always been connected to that placenta. So yes, there is and has been or have been moms that have come to me with issues, just like medications, and then the issue of like how they ended up with that C-section. What are the causes of that C-section? Was it because she wasn't able to move freely and get baby out, or was it like traumatic and it was baby's heart rate was dropping and all of these things, and sometimes that's what makes it difficult to breastfeed, because now you're not trusting in your body. So it's multifold, really. It's not just like an isolated piece of the story that affects it. It's all a whole picture.
Great. And we'll be talking about this as we go on, because there are stories that are just flying in my head once she started talking. And I can assure you, the hospital here is already, changing things so that moms can hold their baby, even on the cesarean section table. So let me not drag that for too long, I would give it over to Rochelle now. Rochelle is the I call her the birth trauma specialist. That's my own definition. She does a lot of other trauma release stuff, but this is about birthing. So I'll let Rochelle talk. Natural birth.
Good morning. Crystal, you literally took the words right out of my mouth. I was like, that's exactly what I think too. So it just shows us how cohesively we have similar thoughts. Natural birth to me is, what does a mother need to deliver her baby? Because at the end of the day, however that baby comes earthside is natural to that baby, natural to that mama, and it may change throughout your deliveries. It may change through your different experiences. On my end of things, I see women needing to prepare a bit more before heading into labor. I often tell my clients that labor is a marathon. And when you look at marathon runners, they prepare for months, maybe even years. And this is where we have to prepare the body with tools, with mindsets, with different knowledge bases, with different ways to cope. And I really do feel as a collective, we have kind of dropped the ball for women. Back in my labor and delivery days where I was working 12, 16-hour shifts, many women would be coming in saying they didn't really know what they wanted for pain management. They didn't really know what positioning was. Partners weren't involved in how to support their partners in delivery. They didn't know that they could get up to the shower. They didn't know that they should move around. And so I really do feel there's a huge piece that comes before that delivery room that we really need to start educating, supporting, and holding moms for space. Because I feel like that's a huge part of a natural delivery. And it's what it is that's really important to you, like Crystal said. How do you want this to go? And we all know, as we're all healthcare professionals, that sometimes things don't go as planned, but that's why we are there. That's why we are trained. That's why we have the educations that we do, to be able to be there when things aren't going as planned and to support those moms. Like Crystal said, I really love that like we're there to aid them and work alongside them, not to do it for them, not to create this like paternalism of like, you are going to do what I'm going to say. And in my office, that's what I see a lot of women saying, well, I didn't know I had a choice. I didn't think I could say no. I didn't think that that was something that I could even like ask a question about. So I think we really need to come back to women seeing that they are part of the equation, that if it wasn't for them, that we wouldn't be there having a job and having that baby that day. So natural birth to me is, how do we as people, as community, as a village, whether it's in the hospital or outside of the hospital, how do we support the woman and the body and the baby in order to bring that baby out?
Great job, Rochelle. I mean, I'm listening to her and I'm like, okay, so I'm looking at from the angle of obstetrics gynae. I mean, we've been labeled as people who usually want a cesarean section. And I tell people, it's not there. There's something we call hasty generalization, but I'm not going there today. But I'm looking at that aspect of the fact that whether it's vaginal or by cesarean section or even assisted delivery like vacuum or forceps, there's almost always that trauma part of it. So natural doesn't remove the trauma. Your body is giving way, stretching and all that stuff. So learning how to work with that as part of the team, not as somebody being told what to do, is a great thing. It's also the part of safety versus, like we don't pitch safety apart from comfort. We merge the two. We are talking, we're communicating, and that's great. And I'm going to be letting Tash talk. Tash works with me. We are trying to create a birth planning. We're trying to create new methods of doing things. She's had the first-hand home experience working with a midwife. And so she brings on that rich flavor of, there are certain things that you don't need to be afraid. Sometimes I think it's fear that drives us as either healthcare workers or even moms. So I think, I will allow Tash to talk.
So I think Crystal and Rochelle both touched on things really well. I think the preparedness for birth is a huge thing. It does take that fear factor out of it a little bit when the mom is more prepared. And then also being realistic about birth outcomes. So everyone has this, perfect dream or what they kind of expect or how things should go. And I think it's really important to be educated on, all the aspects of labor and delivery and coping mechanisms, but then also the reality of how sometimes our birth and sometimes things don't always go according to our plan. And sometimes having unrealistic expectations or just certain expectations can kind of lead mom to be, maybe disappointed in the end if things didn't go exactly according to that plan. So I think there needs to be some openness on that aspect. And then another really important part I feel is having support systems. So there's always been, especially in the last few years, a lack of support for moms in the hospital when they go to deliver, either only being able to have one support system with them, and sometimes it's their husband. And if that's for their first time baby, sometimes that husband or them as a couple needs support, outside of just themselves to make it through that delivery and to feel supported throughout of it. And a lot of the times, traditionally, they had, family or aunties or elders mentoring through labor and delivery and getting that mom through that process. And that's something that we've definitely lost a little bit, or sometimes the mothers might mother their daughters or help teach them, but when it comes to that actual labor and delivery experience, they're not always allowed to participate in it. So I feel like bringing back that family community, that support system to be, physically supportive for that mom through her birth experience is definitely another big piece of the puzzle to help that mom bring forward her natural birth experience.
Wow. I'm just loving this discussion. I wish we could go on and on, but we can't. We've got to run out and do our daily duties. And subsequently, we're going to be talking more, allowing more for examples and all that. And in the next 13 or so weeks, we're going to be exposing a lot more of the nuances that you might not even understand when it comes to taking a decision or explaining things to a mom, so that this disconnect between the women and the system. I'm attempting to explain certain things. Like, I can't change everything, but either way, we want to be the bridge. I want to be able to say, in the hospital, can we do this, that? Because this is what the women are saying. So I need the voice of the women coming in as you listen to this video and all that. Let the voice of the women come in. We are able to say, what is it that we need to be addressing to make life more comfortable? Because, like we all have said, we are healthcare professionals, but we see things definitely from a different angle. And so we want to bring our own natural on. And so until next time, stay safe and enjoy your pregnancy and labor and your family as well. Thank you. Have a great day. Bye.